One of these days, they're going to come up with a drone that y'all can just send over.
Well, I was telling Daryl that it looks like some people finally got tired of hearing me teach the class, because they gave me 2 chances and it's gone downhill. So those of you that came back, I sure appreciate you. And I don't know what it's going to be next Sunday. So I may be able to move my podium over here and just teach. We're going to talk about wisdom again today. And I want to, instead of waiting towards the end and asking a question, I want to ask the question now so you'll be thinking about it, okay? Now, what the question is that I'm asking, I want you to think about somebody in your life that was wise. Somebody. It may be a family member. It may be a church member. May be a neighbor. May be a co-worker. I don't care who it is. I want you to start thinking right now, and we're going to talk about it at the end of the lesson. I want you to think about it. Somebody that was wise. Okay? Kenny, what time is Kenny? Somebody? What time is the bell going to ring? 11:37. Okay. I'm going to make sure I give enough time for you all to talk. Today we're going to talk about the call of wisdom. The very first week we talked about wisdom and fearing God, but today we're going to talk about the call of wisdom. We've all seen pictures and cartoons and different things about the person that climbs the mountain, and it's usually in the Eastern world, in Asia. But we've seen those pictures of somebody climbing the mountain to talk to the guru that's sitting at the top of the mountain with his legs crossed, and this guru dispenses wisdom. This guru has all the answers. So we've seen those things growing up. And if you think about it, that is somebody that is seeking wisdom. Okay, today we're going to talk about just the opposite of that. We're going to talk about somebody who has wisdom that's trying to bestow it on people, on us. And so that's what we're going to talk just about the opposite of that. You might say we're talking about an invitation. You know, we always have an invitation song at our services. Well, today we're going to talk about an invitation to wisdom. We're going to talk about God. And Solomon wrote about it, but we know he was inspired by God. We're going to talk about God supplying, being the source of wisdom and trying to get us to accept it. Not to seek it, because he's given it to us. He said, look, here it is. You know, drink from this fountain. I've got wisdom for you. And so we're going to talk about that today. When I was young, probably 9, 10 years old, I remember being up at my grandparents' house, and I had my grandfather's double bit axe, and there was a limb out in the yard, and I don't know why it was in the yard, because it was about like this. It was 5 to 6 inches big and so long, and as kids do, I was doing a lot of work for nothing because that didn't need to be chopped up, but I was chopping it up with that axe. And I took that axe and I hit that thing just fast as I could. And I mean, I was chopping and chopping and chopping. And I mean, I was cutting a little bit, but I wasn't getting very far. But I was really working hard. My grandfather comes out and he said, "Here, let me have that axe." And he took that axe and he just swung it a few times. And when he would swing it, big chips would come out. And I will never forget that. And he chopped that limb, he chopped it apart pretty fast. But he was taking big chips and he was slow in doing that. And like I said, I had really been going at it. And I realized that he had, and I didn't think about it then, but I think about it now and through the years. He had wisdom. He knew how to chop up that log, and he was wise. He knew slow and steady and big chips. I didn't have that wisdom. Now I do. And now I'm too old to chop wood. But I can teach my grandson. But that's wisdom. And I learned from him wisdom. Medicine. Throughout my life when I was young, you know, when you're young and your mother gives you medicine, you don't usually, it tastes bad and you don't like to take it. And amoxicillin, everybody has probably given that to their children or their grandchildren, and it looks like pink Pepto-Bismol, and it's not as bad tasting as some things, but there's wisdom in a parent giving their child medicine. You can pour that medicine in a spoon and you can set it on the counter. If you don't take it, it doesn't do you any good. But the mother, and I'm not being sexist because mothers are usually the one that takes care of the children, all things, clothes, cooking and everything, but mothers are usually the one that gives the child medicine. That mother knows, she has the wisdom to know if she gives that child medicine, that child is going to get better. Now, the child has no wisdom. The child knows, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that. I don't want to taste that. But the mother has enough wisdom to give that child the medicine. If that child doesn't take the medicine, what's going to happen? They're not going to get well, and it could get worse. And so there's wisdom there. The will of God is revealed to us for salvation. If you don't know the will of God, then how can you ever obtain salvation? There's no way. You've got to know what God wants you to do. If you know what God wants you to do, then you will have wisdom. Wisdom is not something that's unattainable. It's not something that only a few people have. Wisdom is something that all of us can have. And we are at different levels of wisdom. There's some people that, and we're going to talk about it at the end of class, there's some people that are very, very wise that you know. And then there's other people, the other end of the spectrum is foolish. And the Bible talks about foolish people, and the Bible talks about wise people. So that's the two, that's the two areas. You can either be wise or you can be foolish. There's not any speech or language where wisdom's voice is not heard. Now, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to let it guide your life, but it is in all aspects of life, in all languages and all speech. Wisdom is intended to guide our way. Have you ever done anything and you say, well, I won't do that again? Because, the classic example is the little toddler that touches the hot stove. That's the classic example. You touch the hot stove. Now, it may have taken me 2 times. I don't know. But you touch the hot stove, and that child knows, I'm not going to do that again. So there's a little example of wisdom. That may be one of the first things that a child is wise about. So the other word that I like to use is enlightenment. Wisdom can enlighten you. What was it? Some of you school teachers may have to help me remember. Was it the Dark Ages, and then the world had enlightenment, and we came out of the Dark Ages because of academics and education. And so in Proverbs, and we're going to, if you have your Bibles, turn to chapter 8. We're going to be looking at several verses today, and we'll just talk about them. Sometimes it's difficult to go verse by verse, but chapter 8 talks so much about wisdom. And this week they're talking about Thanksgiving, and they're talking about things that we're thankful for. Well, wisdom is something that God blesses us with. Now, you can turn around and say we should be thankful for wisdom. Have you ever thought about that? We seek to have wisdom, but when God gives us wisdom, that's something to be thankful for. And my Bible has a heading, and it says, the blessings of wisdom. If in my life, if I had been wiser at certain junctions in my life, if I had been wiser about things, I would not have made so many mistakes. I've made 66 years of mistakes. I know I made some this week. I can't tell you what they are, but Michelle can tell you. I made some mistakes. And if you think about it, we are blessed to have wisdom. Especially blessed to have wisdom about our spiritual lives. Okay, so let's start with verse 1 of Proverbs. Does not wisdom, and I'll be reading from the ESV, so some of your versions may be a little bit different. Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads, she takes her stand. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud. Let's stop right there. God is telling us through Solomon that wisdom, if you listen, wisdom is raising her voice. And I wanted to say this before I get started. I was looking for Chuck Schaefer's wife. They're not in here today. Raise your hand if you're an English teacher or you have a good command of the King's English. Nobody? Who? Okay. Diana. Thanks for raising your hand. I know what third person is. No, I know what That's what I tell people as a lawyer. People always want to say, hey, I want to ask you a question. Pat, anybody ever do that to you? I want to ask you a question. And I always say, well, now, make it simple because I don't want to embarrass myself. So I don't know if you know this or not. I couldn't find it. I know what third person is when you tell a story in third person. And I'm trying to figure out what this is. Because this is, I don't know if you call it second person, but this story, the way it goes, God is talking about wisdom, and of course we know that comes from Him, but I don't know what the relationship is from the speaker to us. Diana, do you have any idea what that would be? Okay, so it is third person. Okay, so as we go through, think about that. When I read it, I'm thinking about, this is different because this is talking about what wisdom does. So I agree, it is third person. So think about that. So wisdom, it starts out saying, I'm calling you. Isn't wisdom calling you? Do you hear this? Does not understanding raise her voice? When my folks raised their voice, I heard them. I paid attention. Do we pay attention to what wisdom is? And then in verse 2, it talks about at the crossroads, she takes her stand. It's not like she's, weak or... It's like wisdom is solid. And at the cross, wherever we are, at the crossroads of life, wisdom is taking a stand. Pay attention as wisdom takes a stand. Even goes out to the front gates of the town. You're going to find out as we go through here, wisdom is everywhere trying to get your attention. And some of us don't pay attention. Through my 66 years, there's been many times that the wisdom was there. I kind of knew about it, but I wasn't paying attention to it. I chose to go with what I wanted to do. In verse 3, at the end of it, talks about crying out loud. It's not whispering. She's not whispering. She's not just talking in a low voice. I mean, it's there crying out loud. You can hear that. And I take this as there's not an excuse. There's not an excuse where we say, God, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was wise. Wisdom cries out loud for your attention. To you, O man, I call, and my cry is to the children of man. I was thinking about that, and wisdom is saying, I'm calling out to you. I'm not calling out to the angels because they don't need it, okay? I'm not calling out to the demons because they're not going to listen to it, okay? I'm calling out to you, to us. That is who wisdom is calling out to. Oh, simple ones. And that doesn't mean that we're academically poor or we're simple-minded. That's not what. This is more of lack of wisdom. Someone needs to be more wise. And it says, oh, simple ones, learn prudence. Oh, fools, learn sense. There's that old saying about what doesn't have sense is God's given a goose, or God's given, you can put whatever animal that's in there. And so this wisdom, this crying out says, if you're a fool, learn some sense. Try to achieve wisdom. Learn prudence. You know what prudence is? Caution, being cautious. Okay, I'll say it that way. Being prudent. And so it's this wisdom, this lady is telling us to be cautious of what we hear, what we say, what we do. Verse 6, "Hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right." You may have heard people that just talk all the time, and nothing good comes out of their lips. Bobby says I'm talking about her. I'm not talking about you, Bobby. But Bobby will tell you that once she gets to talking, she won't shut up. She's in our Connect group, and that's what Bobby tells us. And then after a while, Bobby will say, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything else." And before we get the end of the Connect group, Bobby's talking again. But it's not foolish, and it's not bad things. But wisdom says, "From my lips will come what is right." Do you ever like being around somebody and what they say is right? You don't have to worry about trying to discern what is wrong and what is right. This morning in my call to worship, I talked about something, or being able to believe in something. These days, I am so confused. I used to be confused because you've got different factions in the United States, and you don't know what the other one's saying, whether it's true or whether it's not true. And now we have AI, and I'm ready. I'm ready to quit because I don't know what's true. Well, wisdom says, if you get to know me, guess what? You will know what is right. If you know me. From my lips will come what is right. Verse 7, "For my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips." So that's a promise that God gives us. If you get to know wisdom, you're going to know the truth. And there's not going to be any wickedness come from what you listen to, because you're going to be able to discern the wise from the foolish. And they carry on with this theme. "All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them." Now, there's been some times in my life where I've told the truth, but it's twisted a little bit. Does that make sense? I haven't lied, but it's just kind of one-sided, and there's been some times when I was younger that I shouldn't have said things, and it was twisted. Well, wisdom is saying there's not going to be anybody that twists their words. There's not going to be anybody that fools you. There's not going to be anybody that you cannot believe every word they say. Through all of our lives, you may be talking to somebody and you go, I don't know if it's true or not, but so-and-so told me. And so you repeat it. And it doesn't have to be bad. It could just be talking. But I don't know if it's true or not, but so-and-so told me. Well, this says you don't have to worry about wisdom. If you're wise, or if the person you're talking to is wise, you can believe it. You don't have to worry about it being twisted. Back to verse 6. Some of your versions, I don't know if you have the word trustworthy or trust, but back to verse 6, trustworthy, you could say it's excellent. We don't usually think about somebody's verbiage or somebody's story to you is excellent, but if it's trustworthy, that's excellent to hear nowadays. Okay, let's go on to verse 9. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Now, there is a part of this that is a requirement on our behalf. They are straight to him who understands. What do we have to do to know somebody's wise? What do we have to do? We have to study. That was going to be my second question. You're supposed to say we have to understand. And then my question was, how do we understand, Jack? We study. Okay? So they are straight. We know wisdom when we see it. If we understand, then it's right to us. It's straight to us. And right to those who find knowledge. If we study, then we will have knowledge of God's Word. Now, this next verse is a hard verse. It's extremely hard for the world. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. Now, those two verses, they're really, really tough. Who here would like to have a lot of gold? I would. Daryl would. And a chocolate cake, you'd like to have a lot of that.
A little gold, you get a lot of chocolate cake.
You know, and I don't know why I think about that when I call your name, but here a few years ago, you talked about that 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 different lessons about how you like chocolate cake. So I always think about chocolate cake, and I love it. I really do. But you love gold too. I love silver. I love jewels. I don't have any, but if I had some, I would love them, and I'd sell them to get money. But this is making a comparison to something we don't understand. It's like, hey, Daryl, I'll give you a bunch of gold, I'll give you a bunch of silver, and a lot of jewels. And you'll think, man, that's important, Larry, because it is important. Those things are important. We put a value on that. We put importance on that. Or you can have wisdom. That seems like not a very good trade, doesn't it? You know, in the New Testament, when they talk about it'd be better for your arm to be cut off or your eye to be plucked out, you know, there's some examples about that than sinning. Okay, if you study that, God doesn't want you to cut your arm off or pull your eyeball out. It's something that we can understand. You mean that this is so bad that it'd be better if I cut my arm off or if I pluck my eye out to keep from doing it? Well, this is, just a minute, Jack, I promise I won't forget you this time like I did last week. This wisdom is just the opposite of that. He's given us an example. Instead of being so bad, this is so good. Wisdom is so good that it's better than gold, it's better than silver, it's better than jewels. So God's trying to tell us that's how good wisdom is. And so that's a pretty good example to me, because I know how good silver and gold is. Well, this is better. Yes, Jackie?
You got to convert that silver and gold. It's silver and gold. Don't feed you.
Yeah.
Wisdom, you can use that immediately.
Jack says you got to convert that wisdom and you've got to convert that gold and silver to be able to really be valued to you. But wisdom, you don't have to convert it. It's already there. And also, what happens, and it may be now, thieves break in and steal, or it may be at the end of the world. What's going to happen to that gold and silver? It's all going to be burned up. How much are we going to take? I don't have any gold. I got a couple of rings and some other little things. Forgot my thought. Oh, I know what it is now. is there anybody here that's going to get to take, whether you're like me and you don't have very much or you may have a lot, how many of you are going to get to take that gold to heaven and that silver to heaven? How many of you are going to get up there and say, hey, look at this ring I got? You know, I bought my wife a ring when we were a 20-year anniversary, and it's just a band, and it's got little diamonds around it, and I stress little diamonds around it, and there's 20 diamonds around that. I really like it. I just think it's neat. But guess what? She's going to part with that gold sometime. I don't know when, this life or when she goes to heaven. She's going to part with that. But the wisdom that she has is not going to be parted. Kenny, what time is it going to ring? 11:37. Okay. Let's stop right there. I want to talk to everybody here. I'll start with my dad. My dad, and he had 11th grade education. Okay, he beat himself up his whole life because he didn't have that paper for the 12th grade. Okay, he thought he was nobody. And he didn't talk to anybody like just normal. I mean, he was quiet. So none of y'all know that because I'm telling it, you know, out of school. I probably shouldn't be saying it. But he beat himself up because he didn't have that piece of paper that said he graduated. Okay, I grew up in a house like that. Now, let's flip it. If you come over to my office, I got all kinds of papers on the wall. Okay, and all these papers say Larry D. Moore did this, and Larry D. Moore did that, and he accomplished this, and I got all those papers on the wall. Now, let me tell you who I'm the most proud of. I'm the most proud of my daddy, okay? He had 11th grade education, but he was so much wiser than I am. And I'll tell you, I'm not going to get there. He was 95 when he died. He had mind problems for the last 5 years. But before that, he was one of the wisest men that I knew. And it proved to me it's not academics. It proves to me it's God. And it proves to me it's a lifestyle. And so I will never be I never have the wisdom that Daddy had. And that's so much more important than those papers on my wall. Those papers are going to burn up too. And so I'll start with saying my dad. That's who I pick for wise. Now, I open this up. We got 5 minutes. I want you to talk. Somebody tell me who in your life was wise. Okay, Jerry says stepdad. What did he do, Jerry? That's a good example. Bob Young is that guru that sits on top of the mountain that we're trying to get to ask questions. But if you couldn't hear Jerry Lee, he said his stepdad. And I've had a relationship with Jerry Lee for a long time now, and I kind of know he's shared with me about his family growing up and some of the struggles that he had with his biological father. So Jerry is telling us now about his stepdad. And Jerry, I can't help but think God put that man, that stepdad, into your life, and he filled that role of wisdom and you had somebody to look to. God will make sure, if you want it, God will make sure He provides a way. Other people, come on now, I know y'all got some wise people. Yes. Now, was that your grandmother or mother? Both. Okay, both. I understand. Yeah. Lots of times grandmothers and grandfathers fill, F-I-L-L, fill those roles of providing wisdom to carry on to the family. Jackie had your hand raised.
Verse 2 had the crossroads in it.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark Young, I went to and was up and down the stop, and he said, "Don't go right or left, just leave it alone." And it's up and down still yet, but it's still going.
Okay. Jackie was talking about Mark Young having wisdom in his life. I also think about James Maddox. Y'all that remember James Maddox, he was a character, but he was as wise as he was a character. Okay, other people, back in the back.
So I would have to say my grandmother as well. And she didn't have an education really at all, never learned to drive, any of that. Her whole life was biblical. And she just taught us that if we knew the things that were in that book, we didn't need to know anything else.
That's true, isn't it? That's true. Okay, I saw a hand over here. Okay, Janet.
Your dad was one.
Well, thank you.
He come in a lot when he was chasing moles. And every time he come in, he'd ask me, "Is church giving you any time off? You and Leon need to be doing stuff together. Don't stay up here all the time, because you never know what's going to happen."
Yeah, I appreciate that. Other people you can think of. Yes, Bobby. I knew Bobby would say something.
Listen to everybody else, but I've always thought my father was very, very smart and very best man, a perfect man. But then sitting here thinking, it was my mother. She picked him out to be my father. So she was a smart one.
So you had some wisdom in your immediate family.
My mother was the youngest.
Okay, I'm going to pick on Bill Tibbles because I know a little bit about Bill Tibbles' family life. Bill, is there anybody in your life that if you think about them, you think about, for me, that's who the wisdom or that's who the wise person was? Your grandmother. And let me ask you this, but for your grandmother, would you be a different person?
I probably wouldn't be here.
Do you hear that? But for Bill's grandmother, he might not be sitting here today. And for y'all that don't know Bill, Bill has preached a lot in his life before he came here. Bill has taught a lot in his life. And we're talking about wisdom from a woman. Okay? Because a lot of people think, oh, that's just a woman. They can't do anything in church. Bill says, but for his grandmother, he might not be here today. So that means all the preaching, all the teaching, that would have never happened but for the wisdom in his grandmother. Did she live in Oklahoma or Louisiana? Or?
She lived in Oklahoma.
Moore, Oklahoma. So that wisdom is so, so important. Daryl? One last time, the bell just rang, but wisdom in your life.
David Roper, part of Bill's family. G.R. Holton, Dan Rouse, Bill, and then extreme from them would be Richard Rogers.
Richard Rogers, okay.
Those were people who explained Scripture to me in ways that I could take to heart and understand.
Okay. Anybody else? Who? Oh, yeah, Clarence Huggins. He was a wise, wise man. Okay, think about today. One more. I know, Bobby, you have to say something else.
I think
We do have a lot of people. All right, this week, think about wisdom. Think about it being a blessing instead of gold and silver.
I was just glad you were picking on Pat and Diane.
Well, when it comes to lawyers, I pick on Pat and Diane. I won't pick on you anymore, but I needed somebody to tell me what that was, third person, and because I knew it wasn't first person.